grief and helps you come out healthy, and it helps you come out. Doesn't mean you won't hurt anymore. It means that you can to go through the mourning process correctly. Means you remember with less pain. My daddy came to my house just a couple of years ago. Mama died in 89, I think it was, and 87, 89. Beverly died in 2001. And I remember Daddy coming to my house probably about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, so it's been a long time for both dads. Daddy comes to my house, which he doesn't do very often, but he comes to my house and we're talking, and look around, we walked up to the living room. I mean, where we sat, there's pictures of me and Linton and all the grandyoungins. I got pictures of the youngins, but that's how it goes. But if you go further back in the house, you'll see pictures of me and DC and Daniel and Beverly. And you'll see pictures of me and DC and Daniel and Beverly and Bethany. And so I never took those pictures down, I just moved them around. So right where we're sitting, the new life is right there, okay? But you go everywhere else, anywhere else in the house, in Bethany's room, she's got a picture of her and Beverly. And she was a little bitty thing, and Beverly had fixed her up a nice little Easter dress, had her nice little curly perm, and that's there. You know, the boys had pictures of their mom sitting in their houses and sitting in the living room. Well, Daddy comes in my house, and he goes, "How can you do that?" And I said, "How can I do that?" And I noticed in his house, he took all the pictures of Mama and put them in a drawer. All in a drawer. Daddy says sometimes he goes and opens the drawer, looks at them, tears them up, and puts them back in the drawer. And I said, "Daddy, the reason I keep these pictures up is, number one, I made a promise to Beverly when she died. I made a promise to her on her deathbed, minutes before she died. I would never try to hide her in this house, never try to hide her from the boys or from Bethany. I would always talk about her and celebrate her." Linda does too. Linda tries to do things to celebrate Beverly's birthday, to celebrate her Christmas. And so knowing that if you don't try to hide from it, you can heal. But if you try to hide from it constantly, you'll remain angry.
It would like my house, would it?
No, your house is full of all that. I love going and seeing those pictures. That's awesome. You got a whole everything. That's right. And so again, I've noticed people that try to hide it, and what I notice about them, every last one of them, is usually they have an anger problem. And usually, not only do they have an anger problem, but people like that also don't want to talk about the deceased. Okay? Now, that's unhealthy. It will keep you locked up. It will keep your emotions pent up inside. It will keep something inside of you that one day is going to spring, and when it springs, it's not going to be nice. You got to let it flow. You have to do it at your own pace. I don't mean everybody's got something to keep looking. They found out, and I haven't tried it yet. Well, I tried a little bit with a person. They didn't know what I was doing, but I couldn't get it out of them. As they've tried out, they've discovered a new therapy for people from overseas with PTSD, and it's called repetitive therapy. And you can go through. You can be over there for 6 months in Afghanistan, see all the blood and guts, and see all the stuff, and it not affects you, but just one instant, just one thing can do it, just one. And if you can get that person to talk about it, they don't want to talk about it. Get them to talk about it, then get them to talk about it again, and get them to talk about it again, and get them to talk about it again. Repetitive therapy. I don't know how many sessions it may take, but if you get them to talk about it enough, there's some type of breakthrough. Okay? Because what I don't want to do is talk about it because it hurts so bad. But if you talk about it, it helps. The same way when it comes to when you have a loss, you're grieving. So part of the mourning process of the grief, mourning process of the loss, you're mourning the loss, which causes the conditioned grief. The process of mourning is you learn how to talk about what it is that's got you grieving. If you don't, it will be a saddle sore for the rest of your life. So, here it is. Mourning is the process of working through the pain of sorrow that follows a significant loss. Joy is gone from our hearts. Our dancing is turned to mourning. Lamentations 5:15. Actually, here's what mourning is. If you take notes, write it down. Mourning is this. actually learning how to, number one, let go, and number two, hold on. Wow. That won't make a bit of sense what I just said. Let me finish it now. It's learning how to let go and learning how to hold on. It's learning how to let go of that person, place, or thing, but also hold on to the significant memories. Okay? You're learning how to let go of their presence, but you're not letting go of the memories. You're learning how to let go of what's hurting you, but you're still learning to hold on to things that make you. I tell people all the time, when I'm counseling them after a loss, I tell them, I say, listen, I tell them this just before the funeral talk, I tell them, the things that are causing you great pain today, months, maybe years down the road, you will smile when you think about it. Okay? So, if you refuse both of them, let go and hold on, meaning you're not going to let go of that person, and you're not going to hold on to the significant memories that bring joy, what happens is, or if you get them confused, what happens is you're hindered or you get stuck in the grieving process. And the majority of the people that I see in the grieving process that get stuck in the grieving process, they're either stuck in pain, denial, or anger. I pastored a person in Benson that was one of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. But once their mother got killed tragically in a car wreck, things changed. And she refused to be comforted. I was with her for another year after that, and I tried to talk with her, and she refused. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. Leave me alone. And that nice, cheerful person was no longer cheerful. They were stuck in the grieving process. So it's important that we learn to let go and hold on at the same time. And almost like it's paradoxical. You know what I'm saying? But it's like with mama. I learned to let go of mama. I learned to hold on. I tell Linda all the time, I go, you know what? I said, I maybe sound like Forrest Gump, but my mama said. You know, and then Linda will say something like, Linda will say things like, if I'd have met you before you were saved, if I'd have met you before you matured, there's no way we'd be married today. And the more she meets my friends from back then, she goes, I know we wouldn't be married. And then she'll say something like, I know your mama's already up to heaven. She says, but I'm praying this thing in retrospect. God bless that woman. Predate this prayer. Lord bless that woman, because I know he had to have driven her crazy. And then my daddy will go, uh-huh. Or my brothers will go, uh-huh. And I say, can y'all please? Me and both my brothers were tough. Remember telling you about the time we come in one night, we've been doing stuff we shouldn't have been doing, and Mama moved a chair, so we'd have to hit that chair as we come in. And I walked in first, I hit the chair, and she went, what's that? Daddy says, I'm not sure. And I went, meow. And Mama says, oh, it's just a cat. And so I go in, and Gary comes in behind me, and Gary hits the chair, and she goes, I heard it again. What is it? And Gary went, meow. And Daddy said, you told me before it's just a cat. Then Larry wasn't none too smart. He walked in and hit that same chair. She said, what was that? Larry said, it's the cat. So again, I think some of the funniest things, using that right now, I think it's some of the funniest things. Some things, I found out something that I really hadn't grieved. And it hit me while I'm working on this. Linda and I love to watch National Geographic. I love to watch the whales, the coyotes, the lions, tigers, and bears on live.
Don't you like looking at things that's got the sausage in their mouth?
The plate-lit people. Yeah. What I was going to say is I was watching, and I had a dog. I had a collie. And this collie came, it was a collie, an English shepherd mixed with a collie. And it came from England. My friend was in the Air Force. He got it when he was in England. He come back here, and he had a dog for a couple of years, and then he had to leave. And so he told me, he said, can you please take my dog? And I said, okay. So I took his dog, smartest dog I ever had. That dog could talk, had an accent, but he could talk. Instead of dog biscuits, he liked tea and biscuits. But other than that, this dog one day was chasing a cat across the church parking lot, and I kept saying, Sarah, quit chasing the cat. And she kept chasing the cat. I said, Sarah, quit chasing the cat. Now, she could talk now. I said, Sarah, stop it. And that cat went running, and Sarah tripped, and she slid across those rocks from here to about Frankie, and then hit the cement and went. And I said, okay, how'd that feel? She said, rough. Okay. I'm going to, woo! I was going to tell you is, I was going to
I just wondered, I talked to my sister a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ready to get rid of some stuff. You know, extra stuff in the house I don't need.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it, a lot of it belongs to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not realize, you know, she took care of my mother, and she took care of my dad, except for the years, you know, she got, me and my sister could go inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked her the other week, I said, I've got all this stuff in Mama's, and I said, I don't really need it. My kids aren't going to take care of it. They don't have room for it, they don't. And she says, I asked her if she wanted their 50th anniversary thing, but they'd just been married for 50 years. And she said, she says, you know, she says, I said, well, you know, you didn't want anything when Mama died in 2009. And I said, I wondered why. And she says, back then I couldn't take it.
Right.
I couldn't stand it. She says, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stand the thought of having her stuff in my house.
Right.
Looking at it. And she says, but now I would love to have her stuff.
Again, it brings joy. Yeah. Well, so
So
see,
I thought I said, I'm going to pack up some stuff. and
there you go. That's good.
But, you know, I didn't realize that, you know, she never acted, she never talked like it, you know.
Right.
She had been, all that, those years.
She had to work through the grieving process. Well, see, our dog, Sarah, one morning, the dog would stay outside. We were in Benson, and she'd always greet the boys as the boys were going. I was taking the boys to school. Down the road was a migrant camp, and there was a pack of dogs, all different sizes and shapes, were down there. They had never done anything to harm anybody. Well, this morning we go to school, and I'm going to tell you how I didn't realize I had not grieved this. What brought it back was I saw wolves attacking each other, and a bunch of wolves attacked another wolf that was strange and just tore the wolf apart. Well, then it reminded me of this situation that I hadn't ever grieved, and that was, we come up, we're getting ready to go to school, just before we had Bethany. I was going to Cordell Bethany for half the time. We get up, and Sarah's laying up against the house, or against the fellowship hall. Normally she runs to the boys she loves on. It's a beautiful collie. And this time she's laying up against the porch, or the fellowship hall. So I walk over and I said, what's wrong, baby? And I go to touch her. I pull my hand up, it's full of blood. And so I said, boys, let's go to school. And they were crying. I said, no, let's go to school. I carried them to school, come back, picked up the dog. She was bleeding from her back end, from her neck. I picked her up and we took her to the vet. We thought she was going to die when we got her there. We got there and they shaved her and they said she had 70 puncture wounds. And the 70 puncture wounds came from 10 different dogs. And the dogs had attacked her in her neck and attacked her in her hind part. And they had to put shunts in her neck, and we had to put medicine, and we had to keep her on the back porch. From that day on, she finally got better, but from that day on, she never slept in the yard again. And when we moved to Williamston, there was a mother-in-law's apartment. DC stayed in there on the bed and on the couch. The dog stayed there. That was her bed. She stayed on the couch. She would not go out in the yard at night anymore without us. But I reckon I thought about it, but I hadn't thought about it when I saw those wolves attacking that one lone wolf. And they were attacking the neck and attacking the back and attacking inside the stomach. It reminded me of Sarah, and for that, and all of a sudden, I felt this great emotional strength. And I was thinking, normally I watch all this stuff and it doesn't really do anything to me, but when I watched that, it tore me up. I didn't say anything to anybody. Bethany was in there, and so was her mom. I didn't say anything to either one of them. But here I am working on grief, And all of a sudden, I see this and it reminds me, maybe I haven't grieved that event. And so I said, Lord, you got to help me process this. And so by the time I went to bed, I was feeling better. But for I would say 10, 15 minutes, my heart sunk. Because I reckon I hadn't really pictured it that violently. And once I saw it that violently amongst all those wolves, wow.